unusual, and I almost wasn't on camera, even though we're pre-recording the live show.
Yes, this is the not live show because we are away this weekend and we can't rely on the upload speeds on the internet that we get. Even when we pay for extra, it still doesn't work.
Yes.
So we always pre-record if we're away, so you haven't got to miss a live show, even though it's a not live show.
And we have to go away because it's a gift.
It is.
Yes, our eldest has given us a beautiful gift of a nice little break away to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary, which is going to be happening on the 26th of September.
Yes, we're a bit previous.
Yes, and of course that's a Sunday, so we will be at home on the Saturday and we'll be doing a live show. We will be here with you all for our Ruby wedding celebration, and then we're touring the country visiting each of our children where they live, all 4 of them on the day of our anniversary, and then we've got a week away in a penthouse apartment.
So we're really looking forward to that. It's a bit of posh. It's
Lots
not as
happening.
posh as for years we've always imagined going on a cruise, but that's not going to happen, is it? So
No.
we've made the most of just staying in
That's
the UK,
right.
and we've got a really nice place booked. And we're just looking forward to the break.
And we're going abroad. We're going to England.
Oh yes, another country.
That's right, which we weren't able to do for the best part of the 12 months.
No, because some of you from the States may not realise what the geography of the UK is. You've got England there, and you've got Scotland stuck on the top, and you've got Wales stuck
over
on the
there.
side there. So we're actually 3 countries within a country. It's
And
very
I
odd.
should make mention that directly below Wales, if you go across the sea, you come to Cornwall, and although they're part of England, they do have their own flag.
They do, but they
And
are
they
joined
do,
on. You
yes.
don't need to go by sea.
No, it's just that the reason I mentioned by sea is because the Scots, the Cornish, the Irish and the Welsh are all Celtic tribes, whereas the Angles are not. So it's just because of the sea travel, the Celts took over this side and the top bit, and the rest is England. But of course we're all part of the United Kingdom, we're part of Great Britain. Northern Ireland is, obviously Southern Ireland isn't. It's very complicated.
It is.
You've got it much neater in America and Australia and places like that. You keep it all nice and tidy.
Yes.
But it works. It's been going well. It works better some days than others, but it's
That's
been
life.
around a while. And we have some wonderful times travelling, and we love going up to Scotland. We've got family there.
Yes.
We love going over to England. We've got family there. We've got one of our children and one of our we've got 2 of our children and one of our grandchildren
Yes.
in England. I've got a brother in Scotland.
Oh, I tell you, our family's everywhere.
Oh, we're cosmopolitan.
We are.
Cosmopolitan. Still, we can't check who was in first.
No, because...
I'm willing to take a small wager.
I think so too.
I think even after this, it'll be possibly.
Possibly
Adam will be in the top 3.
Yes.
I'm confident of that, unless he's not in.
Right, now, just to explain to everybody, if you're just joining because stragglers come along,
Yes.
and I will just mention this periodically through the show, is that we're not really here. We're away on a holiday, but we're in the chat. So
Yes.
chat away to us, we're in the chat. Join in with the other people in the chat, but we pre-recorded this so that you wouldn't have to have nowhere to go on Saturday night. And how sad would that be?
Yes, we've had a very busy time because we're actually going away on Friday morning, and we've got to get our premiere uploaded ready, we've got to get this show uploaded ready, but we just don't like to let people down, and we love communicating with you, and it is fun being in the chat.
Oh, yes.
We get to see the entire chat when we do one of these. We get to miss so much when we're trying to do this and check
Even
that.
if we read afterwards, it's not the same as being able to chat live with you. So we will be chatting live with you in the chat. Right, we need to get on with something vaguely Mudlarking related.
No. There's nothing Mudlarking related this week.
Oh, no, it's beachcombing.
Because we've been beachcombing, and to be honest, I'm sure if you've seen this week's video, you realise that beach was awesome. Some of the formations on the stones were phenomenal. They were out of this world. They felt, when Caroline was editing in front of the music then, they felt like something off another planet. Really did.
The only
But
problem, it was lovely
it
and
was
clean. Oh, perfect, but there was nothing to find.
I would like to say right now, I have watched the Countess Mudlarkers video on that part of the beach, and all I can say is, you two, you pinched everything worth having, just about.
There was nothing left.
There wasn't a lot there in the way of
Modern rubbish.
Yes, to find rubbish. But when it came to, well, the three great things, the scenery, the views, the cliffs, the rocks, the sea.
That's more than three.
No, but just saying that's the scenery.
You're grouping them together.
Then you've got the... No, see, I was in a flow. I was on a flow then. I was going then. I had three things that made it worthwhile. And now I've...
Well, I'll bring up one of them, which was the fossils, because there wasn't an abundance of fossils, but the ones we found, we've never found before. Like the... Well, I won't go into them just yet, because Phil may have questions planned, because I don't know what the questions are. We've been rushing around so crazy today, I have no idea. But
Correct.
the fossils were really interesting.
That wasn't on my list, but one that was, beginning with F, was the family. Because it was fantastic that young Max insisted on starring in the show.
Yes.
And Max's mum insisted on not starring in the show, and we always honour people's decisions, whether they want to be on camera or not.
So we cut loads of footage out.
And also, can I apologise that considerable amount of the footage was lost because for some reason, and it's happened twice now, our Hero 9 switched into Mickey Mouse mode.
Yes, everything's just sped up 100 times. It's
2 minutes
silly.
of film was reduced to like 5 seconds. And it was just sort of... And no matter what Caroline tried to do in the edit, we couldn't salvage it. But I hope you enjoyed what we did anyway. And it will be based on that. So, not giving too much away, because it was the place that was so special. A few of the questions just might be about the place itself.
So quick, everybody,
Ooh,
swatting up.
all the Hastings experts, all those who've been watching our Nathan's channel over there, our Hastings.
Our Hastings is called, and if you haven't subscribed, pop over and have a look. You might enjoy it. It's our son, and occasionally Max too.
Yes, but Max definitely starred on this occasion.
He did.
And what a little star he is. He's become best friends with our Manky.
Oh, yes. If
Manky.
you've seen the video, you'll have seen these pair playing together.
Yeah, the one thing we didn't get, again, we didn't get the footage of this, was Manky and Max doing head, shoulders, knees and
Yes.
toes. He was teaching, because they've taught him at play school, head, shoulders, knees and toes. He decided he was going to teach Manky head, shoulders, knees and toes. And that was absolutely awesome. Obviously, we haven't seen Max. This is our second visit in a month. But prior to that, we didn't see him for 18 months, courtesy of all the lockdowns. And it's a big jump from 1 year and 3 months to when we saw him next. He was 2 years and 9. And he will be 3 very soon. We'll be going up for his 3rd birthday in a couple of months. So that'll be fun. But hopefully, I trust you enjoyed the video, even though this time perhaps it was more about the location and the people that we were with.
I enjoyed looking around though. That was wonderful to see the waterfall.
It did.
I was expecting more water because it was the summer, it was very hot, and so there's just not as much water as normal. But it was still pretty nice.
And
I
tell you what, I'll show you a find. Get the things on a roll. Because I actually stated in the video when I showed this beautiful smooth piece of roof tile terracotta, and I believe that's what it is, because that little lip there,
does look very
it looks very much like the roof tiles. We find that quite a bit over on Beachley. That's something we find a lot in Beachley. But I picked up that piece thinking, that's my consolation, because I'd walked 1.5 miles over rocks and pebbles and I hadn't seen a brick. And I actually made the statement, I don't think I'll be finding any bricks today. And I didn't. But Max found me half a brick. And it even had an X at the end, 3 letters with an X at the end, so it was very much like Max himself. But Bex, it's got to be Bexhill.
Yeah, which is the next town along Bexhill.
Back in the 1900s to the 1920s, they actually had quite a sophisticated tram system running. Do you know what? I find it amazing that we keep talking these days about we've got to move forward, we've got to advance, we've got to get transport systems in, and they talk about trams. And as we mentioned when we were up in Merthyr one time, they used to have a tram system in Merthyr 100 years ago that was run off hydroelectric that was generated by the local river. And they had a sophisticated tram system over in Hastings, and it ran to Bexhill. So there we are. Bexhill, as Karen says, the next town. And they used to have a tram system. You could go all the way to Bexhill by tram.
My auntie and uncle actually used to run a hotel in Bexhill. As well as they used
yes.
to run the Royal Victoria, which is a really big posh hotel on the front where it was. It's a bit more tired than it was
It's
now.
showing its age.
Faded grandeur, they say, but it's on the
Yes.
main, looking out to sea, and
Right
we
on
went to
the-
stay
right
there
on
with
the
them
prom.
once. Oh, we felt dead posh. There were all
Well-
these people on leather sofas reading the Financial Times, and there was Phil and I. He was 20, I was 7, no, I was
I've got a
16.
photograph of us.
You have? Do
I
you know
have.
where it is?
I do.
Phil's going to disappear now.
I got a photograph of us when Caroline was 16. We'd been going out for about 6-7 weeks because it was the miners' fortnight, and we started going out in the May, didn't we?
Yep.
Right, I'll get the picture. I've lived here. Do a song and dance routine.
No, I don't think you want me to do a song and dance to you. I'll tell you what, I'll show you some finds. Now, these are what Max found for me. Look at those. I didn't find any, and they found 2. So I'm not quite sure how Max and his mum found those so easily. I'm wondering if maybe they came from where the boats, they were over nearer where the boats were, and I'm wondering if maybe the fishing boats, I don't know, they don't open them up, do they? And clean them before they bring them in. I thought they landed them like that. So maybe from a cafe, or they may just be washed up. But they were really nice.
And they can write.
Yes.
Max said you can write with those.
And they did. We tried
They
it.
don't write on soggy rocks,
No,
but they write on dry rocks.
so I could make a mermaid's outfit with that, couldn't we?
There we go. That's your fancy dress outfit sorted out for next time, yeah?
Yeah, that'll frighten everyone away.
Right then. Now, this itself is quite an old item. It's not Victorian, but it's a few year old because I bought this many years
And you're
ago.
going to have to keep it down, though, because the children are on there and they don't want to be seen.
Right. So that's going to be tricky now. I'll tell you what. There's little compartments on the back.
Now I'm going to take it apart.
Yeah. Now, there's a story to this because Caroline and I, we'd known each other for all of 8 weeks when we went up to stay at your auntie's with your mum and dad. And we were going along and we saw this gentleman taking photographs, as they did in those days, on the beach with a monkey.
Yeah, which is really not politically correct at all. I don't support photographs with monkeys or taking monkeys from their
On the
parents
other
or
hand,
anything.
this was 40 years ago.
Yeah, when it was acceptable then, I think.
Over 40 years ago.
How
Because
the times have changed.
40 years, we've been married 40 years, and this was over a year. This was
The year before.
it? Yeah. This was a year before, so this is 41 years ago. And to be honest, we were stood there. Well, we're walking along, and he just comes up and he throws the monkey at me.
I know, I didn't even know it was a
And
monkey. I
he
don't know what
goes,
it was.
smile, takes the photograph, grabs his monkey back and says, would you like a copy of the picture? Now, obviously, we didn't have phones in those days. You didn't do selfies. You hardly got any photographs taken. So I thought, that'd be nice. First ever trip away with my girlfriend. And I'd like to have a picture. So we had a picture. And Caroline said, you've given him your money and you'll never see the picture. You don't know who he is. He's just come up to you with a monkey and you've given him a couple of quid and he's going to send you a picture. Folks, he did send me the picture.
Well, you could tell how quick it was, and we looked like we were shaking hands because Phil just, grabbed me and they took the photograph. It was
There we are.
Look at that.
Caroline, sweet 16.
That was the days when my waist was the same size as the top of my thigh is now.
And I was an old man. I was 19, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So there we are, folks. That's us in Hastings 41 years ago. We've changed a little.
Just, again, please don't write in and complain about monkeys. I do not support having photographs taken with monkeys at all. Okay?
But
really, I think it's wrong.
But that's the only photo we have
Yeah.
from our courting days together. Because
It
in
is.
them days, I'd be taking the photograph, or you'd be taking the photograph, because the best we ever got was one of them Polaroid things, wasn't it? We got one or two. I got a picture of us in Polaroid. I don't know where that is.
Right, so are we going to have a question?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the trouble even
I keep
Phil as
forgetting.
quizmaster.
I keep forgetting. Yeah. Do you want a question, folks? Right. There we go. You can put that away now.
Right.
And question time. You got to logo.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Now then, loosely tied to half a brick, much of the town and Hastings Castle, half of Hastings Castle, was destroyed over 700 years ago. Actually, it was in 1287.
Oh, I remember it well.
What was the cause of this destruction? A, an earthquake. B, a fire. Or C, a flood. What do you think, folks? Give us your answers. And it's not like the old days in Opportunity Knocks. Do not put them on the back of a postcard and send them in. You get them down in the comments. What do you think? Do you think it's an earthquake, which would be A? Do you think it's a fire, which would be B? Or do you think it's a flood, which would be C? And this is asking, what destroyed half of the castle and much of the town over 700 years ago? What was the big event? It actually has a name. This event has a name.
Right. Ooh, it has a name.
Yeah, now, these days we give names, don't we, to all the storms.
Is it Conrad?
Storm Dennis. And
Petunia?
No, it wasn't one quite that sophisticated. They were a bit more
Mr.
practical.
Jones?
Bit more practical. Now we call them Cuthbert and Dennis. And not in those days. If you had a disaster, they called it what it was. So,
well, I guessed this wrong. I was working on just complete practicalities and I got it wrong.
Well, I would have thought on practicalities, yeah, I can see why you'd get it wrong. But
sneaky. Sneaky.
It was a flood.
Now, I thought it couldn't be flood because the castle is up on top of a mountain. So I thought, why on earth would it get flooded? And it couldn't have been an earthquake because down the south coast, as far as I know, they don't get many earthquakes because the sort of land is built on. So I thought, easy, fire.
No, it was actually, the damage was done by floodwaters and it was due to a great storm.
No, the Great Storm.
They've had a few of them. The Great Storm,
Yes.
And then they stick a date after it. But this one was called the Southeast Storm.
The Southeast Storm.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that was the
when
name.
I were asked, there was this great storm.
In 1287, I remember it well. Yep, floodwaters destroyed half the castle and much of the town.
Which half? The top half or the bottom half?
I didn't ask.
Right.
I was too busy. So there we go, folks. At this moment, as I record this, I've no idea who won. But in the captions, we will have already, I'm sure, printed up the top three.
Yeah, so congratulations
And
if you got it right.
those who got it right.
Bigger congratulations if you're in the top three. And don't worry if you got it wrong because so did I. Right then. Let's have another find.
Right, do you want to show something, dear?
I will show this crab shell. Now, if you live at the seaside, then I suppose crab shells are nothing special. You see them all the time. But if you don't, now I don't know about... Whoops, get closer. See if we can get it to focus. It doesn't want to focus.
There you go.
There we are. Look at that. Now, I know many people go to the sea, but I knew a lady from Texas, and she said she was in her 60s and she'd never seen the ocean. So she would never have actually seen a crab in its natural environment. So I thought, well, I'd show you just in case you wanted to see if you've never seen one.
Our Max and his daddy actually saw two crabs running along the beach, they were saying.
Yes, and where were we with our camera? Somewhere else.
Yes, we were not to be seen. So there we go.
Apparently, I heard something like, this is just off the top of my head, so it could be wrong, but because they're trying to sell more Cornish crabs, which I think they call spider crabs, they've renamed these spider crabs, I think it's Cornish crab, just because people didn't want to eat spider crab, because it wasn't a nice name. And so they've renamed the spider crab. Let me know in the comments if I got that right, or if you've heard it, or if I'm
completely making it
wrong.
up.
Yes, say, Caroline, you're at it again.
You're at it again. You are making it up.
Oh.
Now, when we were filming down at the shed during this video, you may have caught sight of a shiny piece of chrome. So, because there was no explanation to it, I brought it in to show everybody. Because one of the comments I made on the video was about the fact that I'm a collector. I just collect things, you know, and I introduced my children to collecting, which is why we now have an attic full of bubble bath bottles and elephants, because our youngest collected the bubble bath bottles.
Yeah, all different characters.
Yeah, and our export tin collected elephants.
Yes.
They'd go to the car boot sales, they'd run around looking for empty bottles and elephants.
So we've got an attic full of this sort of thing.
Boxes and boxes. But this actually does play a part in the theme of what we're doing, because there we go, look at that, folks. Isn't that a beaut?
What's the yacht?
Ha 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 ha. Oh, you're so witty. I was so impressed with that. And you may say, well, Phil, what's that got to do with beachcombing, tip searching, mudlarking, whatever you want to call it? Well, I'll tell you what it's got to do with it.
It's really good for protection, you see.
Oh, yeah. Careful now, because that'll definitely have your eye out.
I know, it's a nasty thing, that.
But a beautiful piece. And I'll tell you why. Because we bought probably a dozen boxes of junk from an auction and probably paid about £5 or £6 for every 3 or 4 boxes. And in one of those boxes, we found this. So this is a piece of treasure to me.
Now, it's not worth a vast amount.
No.
£15, £20. I think it looks worth much more. Very posh.
It's
I
worth
shouldn't have
more
told
to
you, should
me.
I? And
It's
then you'd
worth
have been
more
like,
to me.
That's posh.
That is going on the shelf in the shed. There's going to be a bit of a nautical theme to the shed, simply because we do so much beachcombing. So there will be a nautical theme. And of course, I've got my beautiful picture. I've got my absolute ace picture. If you haven't seen the video,
Huge.
have a look. It's massive. It's had to live in the attic for about 10 years.
How long
because
is it? About 8 foot long? Some ridiculous
it's
length.
sure to be 8 foot, yes.
Huge.
It's nearly as long as my shed. But that's going up on the shed wall because I love it. It was taken from out at sea, and the entire front at St Ives is captured on photographs and put together. And as I mentioned, there's even Woolworths on there because it was taken before
there's
Woolworths
a blast
closed.
from the past.
So this will be going up. But as I mentioned, when it comes to collecting, when it comes to finding little jewels, it doesn't really matter whether you find it in a dump, whether you find it on a beach, whether you find it walking in a lane, because we found some interesting stuff in the lanes around here when we've been walking. You know, we found pieces of furniture in lanes, and then Caroline says, "Do you mind carrying that home?" No.
Seems a shame to leave it there.
People put it out for the tip. You know, we don't mind. What do they call it in America? You watch a chap from America who goes, is it dumpster diving or something?
Yeah, I don't think you've seen
trash pickers.
Taco Stacks. He doesn't do dumpster diving, I don't think.
He does trash picking, is it?
Yeah, I think they call it trash picking.
Something like that. They got a word for it.
And of course, our tinkering twins and their mom does something similar, doesn't she? She
collects the scrap and stuff.
Yeah, sells the scrap and things like that. So it's very popular to do. Just that we do it just to bring things home. We've got a Christmas tree. We've got a chest of drawers for my new art studio we picked up the other day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, a brilliant Christmas tree because it's a very small one. It's one of them ones you pick it up and it goes brrrr, you pick it up from the bottom, just hook it on the pipe, and it's about that round at the bottom, so it'll just fit in a neat
We'll scavenge anyway.
We do. Actually, I can show you an illustration of exactly what I was talking about on my video.
Go on, then you show us an illustration.
Because I mentioned on the video that the difference between finding a little gem in a charity shop or a thrift store, is it in America?
In America, yeah.
Or a thrift store, and finding something in a river or on a beach or out in a dump under the trees in the summer is the surroundings. You can't beat walking in a river, especially walking with somebody that's really special to you. So we're out together, we're enjoying the whole experience of being there, being together, finding things and making a video, because we do actually enjoy making the videos. But here's something I picked up in a charity shop which illustrates what I'm talking about.
About to be illustrated at.
I walked into a charity shop and I saw this. Look at that. Is that a boot or what? And it gets better because it's got a stamp on the bottom.
It's upside down. Put my glasses on to check.
How's that?
There we go. It's better.
And what caught my eye was this guy. Look at that, folks. Now, this gentleman died 100 years ago next year. So his centenary is coming up of his death. And I think he was about 80 when he died. So he's been around for a long time, right through the Victorian times. Great friend of Gladstone. He was an MP for the Rhondda. I believe he won the seat either 5 or 7 times, I think. 7 consecutive times he won his seat in the Rhondda. But he was known as Mabon because that was his bardic name. when he entered the Eisteddfod. If you entered an Eisteddfod in Wales, which is like a cultural event for
like a
poetry,
competition for
singing and things like that, if you entered that, harp playing, all the Welsh traditional arts, if you entered in any way, you had to use a pseudonym. His was Mabon, and that's what he was known as. Everyone called him that. But he was also the first leader of the Welsh Miners' Federation, so quite a character. And there he is on a jug, and that cost me the princely sum of £3.
Now, the person in the charity shop probably thinking, oh, there's a sucker, it's got chips and cracks, it's just this old tatty jug, and they gave us £3 for it.
See, they thought they
Really
can't
not
sell
in
that,
good
no one can
condition.
use it. But I picked it up just because I didn't know the history of this man. I didn't know this man was then, until I brought it home. And it's a bit like that when we go out hunting in the rivers. We bring things home, we do our research, and we find out all manner of things. Like last week, we found out about that jar with the stuff in that was baby formula, and they had actually financed the very first airship. You know, history is in things. History is in items, because when you hold that in your hand and talk about it, then you're talking about something real. So there we go.
Like you're waiting for it to drop out of his hand.
So there we go, folks. In fact, it's still got the little sticker on the side. £3.
Right, we really need another question.
Okay.
There we go, we're back.
I was thinking then,
I
that
took the
looks
wrong
like
one.
us, but we're very stationary, dear. Very stationary. Okay, now then, is like so many coastal towns, each have their claim to fame. There are famous people who emerge from so many of our coastal towns of Britain. And Hastings has its fair share of claims to fame when it comes to famous residents.
Let's look. I want to guess the answer. You've got.
Including, I'll give you a couple,
Go on then.
John Logie Baird.
Right.
There we go. There we go. Not Yogi Bear. John Logie Baird. He was from there. The computer scientist, Alan Turing. He was from there.
All right.
Yes. He's very famous.
Is he?
He is indeed. The Enigma machine and all that.
All right, yeah.
And you might know this guy, Suggs. Singer with Madness.
No,
Madness.
I'm not old enough to remember Madness.
Oh. I would sing a song for you, except
Yeah,
I'd
you're
be
not
told
allowed.
I'm not allowed. But the question is simply this. Which of these comedians is from Hastings?
Right, what are the names?
A. John Cleese. B. Joe Brand. Or C. Bill Bailey.
Right, I know what I'm going to guess, and it's a complete guess. Are you all guessing, or do you know?
Okay, so it might be a toughie for the Americans anyway, because you may not know, or you possibly know John Cleese because he went on to be in 007, James Bond. He played was it the chap? Oh, what's the name for the chap who? Q, is it? The guy who does all the magic things, the pens and the cars and all that. He played him in that, but was famous for Fawlty Towers, and of course Monty Python's Flying Circus was their big thing. Bill Bailey, if you've never ever seen Bill Bailey, then some of the musical pieces, comedy, the musical comedy
funny.
Bill Bailey does is out of this world. He is quite
He can
incredible.
play anything. I saw. Have you heard the song
very
Battling
gifted.
Banjos? I think, or Dueling Banjos. Well, he's done Dueling Sitars with this Indian group, and they got sitars and they compete, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So, if you want to look that up,
and-
Dueling Sitars.
And Joe Brand went from psychiatric nurse to top comedian, and she has been on major panel shows and everything in the UK for over 20 years now, I would imagine. And she's a household name. So who do you think it was that hails from Hastings?
Well,
Is
I
it
got
A.
it wrong.
John Cleese, B. Joe Brand, or C. Bill Bailey?
Give you a clue. I guessed Bill Bailey. So sorry if you guessed Bill Bailey. You're
Yes,
wrong.
Bill Bailey was born in Bath.
Oh, there we go. Bill Bailey from Bath.
Bill Bailey from Bath. Now you remember that one because it's all B's. John Cleese is from the coast, but not Hastings.
John Cleese from the coast.
Yes, he's from Weston-super-Mare.
Well, that doesn't fit, does it? There's no alliteration there.
No,
John
he
Cleese from Weston-super-Mare.
No, he should have been John Cleese from Clacton.
Yes, or Cleethorpes.
But Joe Brand was from Hastings.
So there we go. Now we know.
So if you gave a B, Joe Brand, give yourself a pat on the back. And if you're one of the top 3, then get up on your podium for your gold, silver and bronze. And we will be putting them into the comments because, as Caroline said, this is not live. This is a recorded live show. This is the not live show.
Yes.
With Caroline and Phil, recorded 3 days ago.
Yes, we're actually recording on Thursday, but this won't be going out till Saturday.
Yes.
But we're in the chat, so chat away to us, chat away to other people in the chat, and we'll see you there.
Now,
right.
The interesting thing about...
Well, I'm going to have to rush you because we're over halfway through now. The interesting thing about
maritime objects is they're not always found at the sea. Because people that watched our video a couple of weeks ago, when we were on top of a mountain with Tom, will recall this particular find, which I thought I'd bring in because a very maritime find, but found on top of a mountain in a dump.
Is that clear? No.
Near a golf course. Go on, you do it, yeah. You do it. You take charge.
Which way? That way.
There.
You go.
Oh, that's nice. I'm impressed. So, it's not always at the seaside that you find seaside-related items.
No. There you go.
But in fairness, it's at the seaside that we tend to find most of our fossils.
Yes. So you're going to show us a fossil?
I'll show you a fossil if you wish. Are you going to show a fossil?
Oh, I'll show you first before we go to the fossil.
Go
I
on,
want to
go
show
on.
you. Now, there are people that say that animals are not quite running on the same level of progress that we are because they tend to be more content where they are. But I don't think that's true because this shell here is evidence of that. Because this crab made a sunroof, so you've got a convertible shell. So he obviously wanted to look flash, he wanted to be the head of the pack, and he's got himself a shell extraordinaire.
So you're assuming at some point that was used by a hermit crab?
Yes.
With a convertible?
But he wasn't really a hermit crab, he was a bit of an outgoing hermit crab, and he had a terrible desire to be spotted by everyone.
He wanted to be a bit flash.
He did. He didn't want to be a hermit crab, he
flash
wasn't
hermit.
happy.
I think they're called hermit crabs because they tend to hide inside the shell. So they hide away to be safe. But there we go.
He wasn't hiding. He was
No.
flash, man.
Right, I will show you some fossil.
Go on then, show us fossil. This is amazing, this one.
That there, folks. Now, I haven't had time to look up and find out exactly what I'm looking at there. I made the assumption, and I could be right, I could be wrong, that it may have been seeds that had fallen from a plant and then just got fossilized because you can see the debris around that, but I don't know. But it certainly is impressive. And it certainly gives that sense of something that was just momentarily frozen a million years ago, like. And but according to Max, it's T-Rex.
And then he said he's not a fossil, it's a stone, silly grandad.
Ah, yes. I was told
I got my loop here.
Loop.
Loop. So I'll have a little look while Phil shows you the other one, just in case there's anything identifiable on this.
But this as well, I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at because I haven't had time to, because this isn't Saturday for us, it's actually Thursday and we're getting ready to go away, and I was working Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I also washed the car, cleaned the inside of the car before coming down.
Which was not an easy job.
No, because our car gets pretty ponking when we're doing all this collecting. But that one too is an awful lot going on there. There you go. Trying to get as clear as I can because there's so much detail on this. But exactly what is causing the shapes to be formed, I'm not sure.
What I just looked at this with the loop now. I can't show you with the loop. But one thing I was hoping to see something like, I don't know, with little antennas or, whatever they call that front section, or legs.
What are you thinking they
body.
were bugs?
Yes, thinking they were like little buggy things. But they're not. But what I can see, if you look there, is there a longer bit. So I think that this was some sort of grass.
Grain, I think.
Or,
I think it's some kind of grain that's fallen to the ground.
The seeds they are.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or were actually still in it and it fell over and then was covered like that. But that's what I reckon is. What do you reckon? Am I right or am I wrong? Have I got that completely wrong and it's a piece of tarmac? I don't think it is, but if you know it is, then let me know.
Yes, and I may have had a chance to check myself by Saturday, but if not, then I'll be interested to see what people think in the comments.
Right, we better have another question.
Right then, in line with our maritime view and our pretty sailing boat, I will now ask a beachy question.
A beachy question, right?
Which is linked to boats.
Right, I'm ready for this. You ready?
The beach area, known as the Stade, is now home to Europe's largest fleet of beach-launched fishing boats.
So you're on about the Stade. Do you think it's the Stade? Which would be the French way of saying Stade, or it's called the Stade in English, is it? Just wondering. You just pronouncing it wrong.
It's an Anglo-Saxon word.
Right, it's just that, the stadium in France is the Stade de France, which is spelled exactly the same, you see.
So it could be.
So if it's from Europe, I'm just being picky here.
Maybe.
Being picky, you've got to get something right.
Yeah, but nobody told me. I just read it.
Right.
So I read it S-T-A-D-E.
So it's the Stade or the Stade.
Well, I'm going for the sympathy vote at the moment because I'm being picked on.
Poor Phil. Oh, Lord.
Anyway,
He's henpecked.
whatever it's called, actually I did read that the word was, I believe, Anglo-Saxon or an ancient word, and I can't recall what it was. It may have been the launching place or something like that. But anyway, it's where they launch the sea vessels that go out to catch the fish. So whereas massive majority of fleets in the world sail out of harbours, they actually drag the boats down over the beach, over the shale, into the water, and they drag them back up. And it is the largest now fleet in Europe.
Ooh.
Possibly the world. Wikipedia claims the world, but I couldn't find any absolute guarantee of that. So I'll stick with Europe. So the question is, how long do you think the locals have been launching their vessels to go fishing from that particular spot? Would you say it was A, at least 200 years? Or would you go for B, at least 500 years? Or would you go for C, over 1,000 years?
All right.
How long do you think the folks at Hastings have been launching their boats? Now, if we're talking 1,000 years, then over 1,000 years, we'd be going back before 1066. If we're talking 500 years, then we're going back to the 1500s. And if we're talking 200 years, well, obviously, we're looking at the 17 to 1800s period. When do you think they began, or we know for a fact they were there launching their boats?
Well, I'll
A, B,
tell
or
you
C?
my thought process, and I think it's going to be 1,000 years because they had boats in 1066, didn't they? So if they had boats and access to the sea, then why would they not launch their boats to go out and catch fish? That would be my theory.
That would be your theory.
Let's have a look, see
Right
if I'm
then,
right.
well, let's have a look and let's see what other people are thinking. Are you saying at least 200? Are you saying at least 500? Or, like Caroline, are you using the logic that if they had a battle in 1066, they must have had boats to get you to fight their battle? Therefore, because it came from France, didn't they? From Normandy.
Right.
So, if they came by boats, then there's every possibility the folks at Hastings had boats too.
Oh, there we go.
That's your logic. Right. What do you think, folks? I can tell you, as always, the wife is right.
No, this is the first time I've been right tonight.
Yeah, but I never say you're wrong.
Oh, no, you don't. Well done.
That's right.
It's not bad, see?
No, I just go quiet. That's how we've survived for 40 years next month.
Oh.
We both go quiet when the other one's wrong, innit? We have a lot of quiet now, Russ. It is actually, as Caroline carefully deduced, there have been boats launched off that piece of beach where we were. In fact, it's where we went round the harbour. It's to the right of there. We went over to the left. It's to the right. And we have some footage of that that we filmed on a previous occasion. And I'll have to try and put that together and put it out in some way for people to see. But it is interesting to see them dragging the boats back in. These days they have tractors to do it. But of course, for many years, they just dragged them in and dragged them out. There was no mechanical means.
Nope.
May have had a horse if you were rich. But they've been there for over 1,000 years, launching boats, sailing out, catching fish. And even though the British fish industry has taken an hammering, it is still alive and well. And I believe it's something in the order of 25 boats are being launched off that beach each day. And you can buy the fish there.
Yes, they're all like log cabin-y type things all the way along.
You
could just pop and buy fresh fish.
Sheds all along there with all of the prices and the catch of the day, and they're literally bringing the fish up from the beach, and they're on the beach. The water is there, the beach is there, and you can buy the fish literally on the front.
Yep.
So if ever you're in Hastings, folks, have a look down there on Stade or Starred Beach, and you can't miss it. And I'm sure you would enjoy seeing the boats and seeing what happened there, and realising you're looking at 1,000 years of history.
Amazing.
You're amazed, isn't it?
I am. Do I look amazed?
You do. You look absolutely amazed. Really.
I am really. Right then, I'm going to show you. You've probably seen these on the video, but I think it's really nice. Sorry about that.
Our graduated set.
Look at that. If I pop them, sorry, it's right. The microphone is right below the camera, so now you can pick on me for clattering.
I got told off in the edit for clattering things.
Yep.
And now Karen's the clatterer.
And I love these shells because if you look at the different shades on those, they're all so different, but they're also, I like those stripes. I'll show you on the top of it. Look at the different shading. It goes from grey right to a chocolate brown.
Now, I just thought, that's a good idea. If we were to have them like that, if you arrange them like that, I know sometimes we find like a doll's head and shoulders. If you put them at the top, that would look almost like a dress, wouldn't it?
It would.
Coming down. Look like a fancy dress.
Well, you could stick it on your nose and you could pretend it was a nose shield.
No, I think it is silly now. You're mocking me now.
Me? Oh, I think that's terrible.
I was being genuinely impressed by that. Look.
I may sneeze at any
I
time.
could put a head and shoulders on there, and that could be a very posh dress.
We could. Yes. Let's have another question.
I'll just give you your rattly shells.
Thank you.
They're going to get me in trouble. Right, now, we've got a little hagstone. Is it on your side, my darling? The little hagstone?
No, you got it.
Oh, yes, I've got it. You're correct. Now, here's our little hagstone. There he is. And here's one that I had down in the shed and showed on the film. It's his big brother. Because they're very similar. Similar in colour, similar in shape, and similar in as much as they've got a hole right through them. That one's not so easy to see, the little one, but it does go right the way through. That one's a bit more clear because you can see all the way through there. And they are known as hagstones. And I think one of the biggest hagstones that's been put on display was 4 foot in diameter. And it was said that people used to drag their children through it in order to ward off rickets. Right. Because they believed that there was power in the hagstone. And people, if they had broken limbs, they would put their limb through the hole and believe in that something marvellous would happen. And they used to have the medium-sized ones, something like this then. They would put a string through and they'd hang it at the stables so that they're... Because, of course, back in the day, your horse was absolutely vital to you. It was your means of transport. It was everything. And they would hang them to protect them from... And then small ones in Victorian times were made into jewellery. And I think still are today,
yes.
You know, in specialists.
Very popular hagstones,
yeah, very popular. So, having found a hagstone, well, we found 2 or 3 actually, I would like to ask a hagstone-related question.
Right, okay, I have no idea what this question is. Go on then, sock it to us.
Hagstones, or as they are called in the northeast, adderstones, are believed to repel any ill effect by spells or the evil eye.
Ooh.
That's what I read.
Right.
Yes, I read that in a dictionary. And it says the earliest reference is in the 15th century.
Can you stop wiggling on your chair?
I got a wiggly chair. I go for a ride on my chair. Okay.
Sister!
The earliest reference is to a 15th century charm.
Listening.
I'm staying still. You're not moving. The chair's moving, but I'm not. Okay.
Sorry. Well,
15th century charm.
Mm.
And that charm was against what? So the hagstone was used, and in a recorded 15th century charm, to ward off the effect of sleepwalking, nightmares, or bad breath. What was the curse that charm was said to cure? Because this is what hagstones are supposedly all about. If somebody, because back in the day, like even down to the fact that they work things out and they realised when there's an awful smell, people get ill. Well, of course, that's because things were rotting. That's because there was sewage in the streets. So they thought, if I get a vinaigrette and have something sweet smelling, take the smell away, I won't be ill. But of course, that didn't work because you were still breathing in the poisons. So they were looking for answers. And they felt that the stone with a hole in had power to ward off.
Was there a bit of a clue in there?
To ward off things. So, there was no clue.
No, I'm going to.
So are we looking?
As a subconscious clue.
Are we looking in the 15th century charm that is listed as a cure for a hagstone being used in a cure for sleepwalking, nightmares, or bad breath? What do you think, folks? What are you going for? Do you think it was the earliest form? Do you think it was the earliest form of mouthwash? Do you think it was something to help you to get a good night's sleep? Or to get you back to bed when you've been sleepwalking? So, A, sleepwalking, B, nightmares, and C, bad breath. I'm sorry, if you're looking for a cure for bad breath, hagstone's not the one. Neither is it for sleepwalking, but according to a 15th century charm, it was to prevent nightmares.
So now we know.
Now you know. There you go. Right, what are we doing next?
What are we doing next?
Pretty stone warning. How's that for pretty stone? They're not a pretty stone. As I pointed out, I counted all the stones on the beach. If you want to know how many there were, you got to watch the film. And out of them all, I picked that one up because, I don't know, it just stood out.
Looks like a bird's egg a little bit, but it also looks like a hedgehog.
It stood out. We just was there amongst millions of others.
You can show the brown bit that looks like an eye somewhere. There. It looks a little bit. If you use your imagination, doesn't that look like a hedgehog?
It does. There's his eye, there's his nose, there's his mouth.
Yeah, he doesn't look very happy though, does he?
He's a sad hedgehog.
Yeah, because he's lost his
other
eye.
There you are, folks. There he is. Caroline's hedgehog. So there we go.
Now, I got this. I know I picked up a piece of green, but the sea glass was very meagre. Very slim pickings. There was a piece of grass, green.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. I searched the bag, I couldn't find it.
I hope we lost it. We didn't get much. And then there's like the bottom of a square bottle there. And there's that one that looks a little bit like a butterfly. And then there was this bit which was, if only it was the whole cod bottle instead of just the neck, then that would have been marvellous, wouldn't it?
But it just goes to show, if there's a bit of a cod bottle, then there's stuff coming from somewhere.
Yeah, the rest of that cod bottle is somewhere.
Yep, because I searched, I looked all along it, but there was that one area that I showed where there was an outcrop of stuff and there was a few interesting pieces in there, but there's no way that I'm going scratching and digging in cliffs.
Didn't even feel safe to be at the bottom of those cliffs, and somebody was camping in a tent.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right
if anything
underneath.
Falls, just one rock falls on that tent.
Yeah,
so they were
and
very
I was
brave.
careful to ensure that even where I was, the ground ran back to the cliffs. So as I lifted it up, you could see there's a slope before it rises up, because where the cliffs run sheer, it's just not worth the risk. The cliffs in this country, at least, are not stable.
Oh, lately there seems to be more cliff collapses than we've had in years.
We're losing houses, gardens, hotels, public houses. There's towns that are slowly moving back.
Well, I saw an advert for a house, because we're just always looking around the country seeing where we could live, and I won't say where this place is because I don't want to be critical of anywhere, but there was a house for sale, and they were saying about how wonderful the sea views were.
They were.
So I thought, well, let's go on to the internet and have a look what's going on there, because I know there is erosion in that area. Well, it turns out this house used to be about a mile from the coast when it was first built many moons ago.
Not now.
And now their
fence is on. Their fence at the end of the garden was on the cliff.
The garden was about 20 foot long, and then there was the cliff. And I'm thinking, I don't care what the sea view is like. That is not the house for me. It's not going to be there in a couple of years' time.
Normally, you ask, is it leasehold? If it's leasehold, how long is the lease? But that's not a question worth asking when the cliff has moved a mile and it's now at the end of your garden.
So you're going to be the proud owner of a house that's in the sea or on the beach. So that wasn't for us.
No. Now, here's another interesting thing. I pointed this out on the day because it looks so much like a fossil of a devil's toenail, as they call it. And of course it's not. It's probably his second cousin, because it's actually a shell. Because some of these fossilized items that we find are still in existence today in some very close form, even millions of years later. Which is quite interesting, I think. I think that's quite interesting.
Right, you going to show something else?
No, you carry on, dear.
No,
carry on. No.
Do you want to show do a question then? I just want to disappear for a second.
Yeah, we do
Another
a question. Go
back now.
Right then. Well, this is our last question of the night. Aren't we doing well? Because if my timings are correct, we've got about 6 minutes left, maybe 7. So that's very good. The question is about rock legends. Now then, you're thinking, Phil, how do you manage in a show like this to stretch it enough to get a rock legend in? Is it because you've got rocks, and therefore having rocks, you think you can just use the word rock and switch over to music? No. No, this has got a far more direct connection with the video.
Right, go on then.
Because Hastings has a pier. The pier was built in the 1800s, as were many piers.
When we went the 40 years ago, the pier, I can't remember if it was 12.5p or 17.5p to get on the pier per person.
Well, they should have charged more.
It wasn't much.
They should have charged more and fitted some sprinklers and a few extra fire extinguishers. Because in the 1990s, after we'd been there was storm damage. And then I believe it was 2010, there was a fire and it wiped out 95% of the pier. Very sad.
Yep.
But the good news is the people of Hastings decided, well, we're getting our pier back. And they jolly well did. And if you'd like to see the pier, then I know that our Nathan, as on our Hastings, he chose the pier. So if you'd like to see the pier now, because in 2019, the people of Hastings, they set up a trust and save our pier, and they raised the money and they rebuilt the pier, which is not a small thing to undertake in these days. But they did it, and it reopened in 2019, just before, well, 2 years ago, is it? Pretty sure it was 2019. If I've got that wrong, I apologise to the people, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Anyway, getting back to the fact that it has a pier, the Hastings Pier Pavilion has hosted quite a number of musical events and quite a few musical talents over the years. And I'd like to ask you, which of these rock legends have performed at the Hastings Pier Pavilion?
Right.
Was it A, the Rolling Stones? Was it B, the Who?
The Who?
The Who.
Oh.
Who? Yeah. Or C, Jimi Hendrix?
Ooh.
Which do you think it was? Do you think A, do you think the Rolling Stones have appeared at the pavilion on Hastings Pier? Or do you think it was the Who that have appeared on Hastings Pier? Or you're going for C, Mr. Jimi Hendrix appeared on the pier? That's not easy to say, appeared on the pier. But which do you think it was?
Well, I can't tell because you
Shut up!
Shut up!
Shut up!
I was checking. I see what you mean.
Oh, I tell you, it's getting late. It's 25 to 10 and Caroline's going to...
Let me show you what I did. I don't know if it's going to look so good at this. I just thought it looked like somebody singing. Oh.
Oh, there we are. That fits in with the rock legend.
There we go. It does, doesn't it? Lucky I did that.
Singing shell.
Right.
Okay. Now, whether Caroline has kind of given it away a little, I don't know, because I know what she was about to say, because I'm psychic. And I tried going, and she went, David, what I'm saying is, I know what you're going to say. Don't say it.
I didn't.
Monkey, keep an eye on her.
Cool.
So, folks, what do you think? Did anyone say the Rolling Stones? Or did everyone go for the Who? Or have we got a few Hendrix fans out there? Well, I can tell you this. I can predict now that the first 3 answers were all correct. In fact, all the answers were correct. Because Caroline
I'll
was...
show you, see? Now, when Phil does the questions, you can see he does the one that's right in bold. So we've got the bottom, and I couldn't work out which one was in bold. So I can't tell. You've done it wrong.
She said they're all in bold.
That's what it was.
And of course, that's because the Rolling Stones have appeared in Hastings at the Pavilion on the Pier. The Who have appeared in Hastings at the Pavilion on the Pier. Jimi Hendrix has appeared in Hastings at the Pavilion on the Pier. Genesis have also appeared, as have Pink Floyd.
Wow.
So when you're talking rock legends, folks, Hastings is a bit of a place to be going to because the rock legends have certainly been there in force, which is probably why they were able to raise the funds to replace the pier, because it has got a lot of links to some big things. What's the matter with you now?
Nothing. I'm fine.
You've got the giggles.
I'm fine.
Help! My wife's got the giggles.
It's getting late. That's my excuse.
It is, but there we go. We've got 2 minutes to go. We've done all the questions. We've covered all of
excited
the
bits from my side.
finds. I did bring this up just to show people a little more closely than it may have picked up on the camera, because I was showing this. As I say, we're going to now be working down in the shed, but when we did find a stone, I don't know if it's there, and I thought it might be one of them like anemone things, and I think that's what this possibly is. Anybody any ideas? What do you think that is?
Let's have a look.
Because it comes, I give it to Caroline to have a look, it comes out of there. It's a perfect fit.
I don't know if it's one of those, or whether it's like on... Yes, it is. I can see now the star shape on it. I show you really closely there. Can you see the star?
Yes, I can see it now.
Yep, so there we go.
One of them sea anemones, isn't it?
My hand is wandering off. There you go.
That's a sea anemone. And I think a few of the stones we found with those marks on were possibly those, but they've been worn considerably. But that one is a nice one because it fits nicely into the little hole. There we go.
There we are.
So, sea anemone in a rock. And as I showed you, I've got 2 others that are still in, and I'm going to try and dig those out. There's going to be, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to take the time to try and do an expose using that new tool that Nathan gave me. Lots of things being planned, lots of things to come. We're going to be having a holiday. We probably make a video while we're away, but that's not the prime purpose for going this time.
No.
This is a gift, and we're really looking forward to having a break.
Yes.
We really are, folks.
I intend to spend a lot of time sleeping.
Yeah, it's
sounds crazy, but it's been a busy few weeks, so I am going to enjoy.
Well, in fairness, lots
rest.
of people have been saying, they don't know how we do all the things we do. And please, can I give a big apology for being so far behind with comments? I am working at it. I have had work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I did 4 last week, but while we're away, I will be catching up on comments as well, and I hope to be up to date by the time we come back. So please, if you haven't had a reply to a comment, it's not that I've left you out. I've left everybody out at the moment. I am running, I think it's 9 days behind on comments, which means I am 2 videos and a live show behind before these go out. So, but
hang on in there, Phil. We'll get back to you.
And I love answering the comments. I really do. Please do not comment. I love answering comments. I love communicating with you out there. It's part of what's special about this YouTube world. It's part of what's special about the YouTube family. And I know there are people out there who really feel this is a family that they belong to. And people say, wish I was in your family. Folks, if you're part of this YouTube world, if you're part of what we're doing, then you're part of this. And this is something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, because it's not something you can
define. People from all over the world, with all different ages,
backgrounds,
and interests, and yet you all just get on so well.
It's
amazing.
It's incredible, and we hear enough about the bad side of technology, and I know, and I think we've got to do everything we can to protect as people from the negatives of technology. But we said the other day when we were doing a video, who would have ever believed that when we were kids, and you got to remember, when we were kids, mobile phones were in big red boxes on the side of the street.
Yes.
A tablet was something you took when you had a headache. And don't worry about iPod Shuffle, we had jukeboxes. You know, the world has moved. And we used to sit and marvel at our 3 channels on the TV. And we thought, whoopee-doo, they've invented a 4th one. And now, we're making movies.
Yep, as simple as that. You pick up your camera and you can go off and make a YouTube channel.
And so are other people too. So many wonderful people out there. Youngsters like Adam and Kyle, right through to Big Dove up in Scotland, to Docking Bay over in Manchester. We've got the Scottish Mudlarkers. There's so many people out there doing things. Tom, and too many to mention in one go. But folks, thanks to everybody that's making content. But also a big thank you to everybody out there as part of this community.
Yes.
Because without a community, we'd have no one to make it for.
Watching really is as important as the people who make the videos, because if there's nobody watching us, then what's the point? But we want to take you along with us, and so you make our trips absolutely wonderful. If you weren't there, we'd be quite lonely. Well, we wouldn't be completely lonely. We'd have each other, but it is nice to know you're there too.
It is. You feel strange talking to a camera and believing there was no one on the other side. But we love it. As I always used to say when I was in ministry, I'd stand up, do the service, and at the end I'd say, thank you for coming, folks. It just wouldn't have been the same without you. And it wouldn't. And it wouldn't be the same without you. We appreciate every single one of you. So please keep sending the comments, but bear with me. Just had a busy time. We're taking some time out. I will catch up with them while we're away. But we're going to have a bit of rest and recuperation, I think.
Now, if you just joined us, I know quite often people come just at the last minute.
Big Dove would be one of us.
Yes, this is the Not Live show because we're away this weekend. We're actually away at the moment. We're recording this on Thursday so that nobody has to miss out on the Saturday night entertainment. We wouldn't want you all dressed up with your snacks in hand and nowhere to go.
No.
So we've recorded the live show. We are in the chat, but we won't be in the chat for long because we're about to say goodbye.
We are.
We are.
Shall we?
We shall. So
Go on, then.
We'll see you all next time. But until then, don't forget, have
Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.